Stephen Green, property trainer, squaddy to heroin addict. How do his events stack up against the likes of Samuel Leeds? Watch this to find out. Stephen Green is the self-proclaimed UK's leading property trainer. Stephen claims this because he says he's the only accredited property trainer out there. Now, my professional background before property was procurement, and one thing I've seen many times is companies actually setting up their own associations or accreditation schemes to trick people into thinking they're better or more qualified than they actually are. Because of this, I looked up his accreditation on the itol.org website, but couldn't find his company listed on their accredited training centres list. I also thought it'd be good to know how difficult it is to get accreditation with ITOL, so I took a look at the application process. Now, in their own words, becoming an ITOL accredited centre is really simple. You will pay £1,300 per annum, and all your training events will be automatically accredited. The whole process takes up to 10 working days, sometimes sooner. Now, it may well be that there are different types of accreditation, or he uses a company name that I couldn't recognise off the list of accredited training centres. So, I'm not saying his accreditation is fake, it may just not be as good as it seems, so please do your own due diligence. Now, I've known of Stephen for a few years now. I originally came across him when he did a video titled "Millionaire Takes Heroin and Lives on the Streets," which I thought was a really stupid thing to do, if I'm honest. His credibility with me from that point has been pretty low, especially since I was actually homeless at 17. But he's still around, selling courses, so when a free half-day event came up in Hull, I thought, why not? Now, even back 5 years ago when he did the heroin video, it was clear that he likes to do stuff for publicity. Call it marketing if you want, but it's all the same thing. It's doing stuff to gain more exposure to sell more courses. Given that, I was really surprised that there was only a handful of people in the room who even put their hands up when asked by the host if they knew who Stephen was. The event started in the same way as pretty much all events that are designed to reel you into spending money on a stage 1 course thinking it'll unlock the secrets to riches, only to find out it's just the first stage of many in the property training sales funnel. Unfortunately, Stephen couldn't be there as he had meetings all day. What a shit show. I'm sorry, but if you organise an event with your name on it that other people are committing to, then you make sure your diary's clear, especially when the event's all about you. We were really lucky though, because Stephen had managed to record a video saying he was sorry that he couldn't be there due to having meetings. All of the good news stories and all of Stephen's achievements were dwelled on and mentioned numerous times. This is the social proofing part of these events. There was also lots of people's stories about their successes from being in Stephen's academy, and 2 or 3 people, including Stephen's wife, came on stage to share their experience and prove the concept. Talking about Stephen, we had that he's an LLP coach, he does charity work, he's won awards, he's an Amazon bestseller, he's done the Ironman back-to-back twice. I think we had a full house of achievements. The event was held by Ben Jeffries, who swapped places with Stephen on Channel 5's Rich House, Poor House. Ooh, there's some more publicity. What a lovely story. You can imagine how much social proof juice was milked from this one. So one of Ben's big revelations of the day was that we're currently in a property crash. Really? This obviously means that we need to get into property right now so we don't miss out. Section 24 was also mentioned as the reason for this current crash. Anyone who's been around in property for any length of time knows Section 24 is old news, and although it did panic a few landlords in the beginning, and probably still does, it certainly isn't going to cause a crash. Section 24 was a change in the tax law announced in 2015, yes, 10 years ago. It stopped landlords with property in their own names from claiming the interest on their mortgage as a taxable expense. This really did impact the profitability of rental properties. So it's worth mentioning, the Renters' Rights Bill will bring some big changes, so make sure you watch the video pinned to the end of this one to learn more. Ben then went on to say that all properties should be bought in a limited company for sure. There was a mention of which SIT code to use for your property company, which should be 68209. Just be careful with this one, as there are other codes depending on what your company is actually set up to do, such as 68100, 68310, 68320 and so on. And having the wrong one can affect your ability to get lending for that company. If you're not sure what a SIC code is, it stands for Standard Industrial Classification, and it just shows people what your company does and what type of business it carries out. At one point he started to give financial tax advice, which he shouldn't, and misunderstood a question about retaining first time buyer status if you own a buy-to-let property. Overall, Ben was not that well educated. I don't mean that to be overcritical, and I don't pretend or believe I'm an expert. It's just that if you're running an event like this, then make sure you either know the answers or openly admit you don't, which granted he did on a couple of occasions. So what was the cost of this life-changing training? £1,669.20. Well, that's an odd number. Comment below why you think they picked that price. Now, unfortunately, there were only a few spaces left for the stage one, the 3-day advanced training course that they were pushing. Lucky for us, the slide showing this was the case, and there was only a few spaces left, was put on screen several times throughout the afternoon to remind us that we may miss out if we weren't quick enough to get signed up with our credit cards. Once the first request for us to go and sign up with someone at the back had been done, those left behind, which was most of the room, were asked why they hadn't signed up yet. Was it time? Was it money? Etc, etc. Well, lucky for us, there was a special offer. I know, right? Who would have thought we would be so lucky? The offer was that we could also bring a second person for half price. Wow, sign me up now! So this might have convinced another one or two, and then came the final excuse buster for not signing up. Today only, just put a deposit of $295 down and pay the rest on instalments, and we will also give you a money-back guarantee. On the Monday after the training, I was called by Stephen's office to let me know I was one of only a handful of people who hadn't signed up for the course, and they wondered why. He asked me for feedback, so I was happy to oblige. I said overall the presentation was weak. It was probably the weakest and most amateur I have seen at one of these property funnel events. I thought the Samuel Leeds one was poor for not putting coffee on, but at least this one did. Having a no-show from Stephen was really poor, and in Ben's own words, he's just one of Stephen's minions. If this is the standard of effort they put into their other paid training, then it doesn't look good. Maybe that's why after all these years, he's still putting on small free events selling property training for what is actually a low price. That said, it's only stage one of the sales funnel. The property training industry is full of charlatans, fakes and frauds. If you're looking to get into property, make sure you learn as much as you can for free. And are also really careful where you put your money, as so many people get ripped off and just lose the money they've invested in themselves. After posting on Facebook that I'd been on this training, I was approached by several people who wanted to warn me about their experience of Stephen Green's Academy and his inner circle, among others. There are a lot of horror stories out there, so please make sure you do your own due diligence. Make sure you watch my video on Samuel Leeds' crash course review here.